When watching the film Alien by Ridley Scott, we can best understand it when we explore its play on our subconscious sexuality. Mainstream film has never tackled sexual fears in the subconscious way Alien does, with Dracula being the only cinema that had previously gone down this route.
This is the story of Dracula, a creature who destroys all whom he touches.
While the film is one that pushes gender boundaries of a male-dominated society, especially by having a badass female who defies typical stereotype as the main character,
why don't you just fuck off?
We find it so effectively terrifying because of its manipulation and adaptation of what we think we know about sexuality. Horror films don't create fear, they release it. Let's start by looking at our characters. You could say all of them are pretty realistic except for when things start to get crazy. Check out this scene for example. Here, Parker, Lambert and Ripley discuss their options for survival. Lambert becomes extremely distressed and wants to abandon the ship and the alien completely.
I say that we abandon the ship. We get the shuttle and just get the hell out of here.
Almost paralleling the typical 1950s B-film woman supporting roles such as Becky in The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She is waiting for someone to help or running instead of fighting, characteristics which are stereotypically female in cinema. Parker is the complete opposite and wants to act straight away with as much force and violence as possible in order to kill the alien.
I'm for killing that goddamn thing right now.
Acting on the stereotypical male characteristic to fight and act without thinking. This alludes to stereotypical heroes in films of the time. Both Lambert and Parker die because of their cliché characteristics. Their stereotype leads to their demise. Additionally, although Ripley is defined by characteristics that are usually male, she comes somewhere in the middle of these two characters and comes up with a logical plan to kill the alien.
We'll move in pairs, we'll go step by step and cut off every bulkhead and every vent until we have it cornered, and then we'll blow it the fuck out into space.
She defies her gender stereotype and therefore survives. Although this pushes the boundaries of gender stereotypes in cinema, the fact that Ripley still lives in a world where it takes a catastrophic situation in order for her to be taken seriously is also a comment on society in itself.
So will you listen to me, Parker? Shut up!
Let's hear it.
In saying that this film challenges gender in our society through these scenes, we must also consider the last scene of the film, which could be taken as contradictory to this. Confronted at her most vulnerable, Ripley is naked and exposed, and accepts she is no match for the alien's murderous lust. It's only after she puts on a spacesuit that she defeats him. This could be read as an anti-feminist scene, as she only conquers the alien after she desexualizes herself in order to survive. Another scene I would like to look at is this one.
Do the same.
Ripley, this is an order. Open that hatch right now. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Ripley, this is an order. You hear me?
Yes, I read you. The answer is negative.
It was only when analysing the scene closely that I realised how much this scene mimics rape. Through aggressive dialogue from the two characters outside the ship, and Ripley calmly remaining in her beliefs, we can observe a major and disturbing undertone. Let's listen to just the dialogue used again.
Open the hatch.
Listen to me. If we break quarantine, we could all die.
Look, would you open the goddamn hatch? We have to get him inside.
No.
Ripley, this is an order. You hear me?
Yes, I read you. The answer is negative.
Along with this, when Ash, who we later find out is a robot, sticks a porn magazine down Ripley's throat attacking her, he parallels the alien's hyper-masculine aggressiveness and oral rape. Not only does this scene show that this organisation controlling Ash thinks this overly lustful, aggressive alien is the perfect being, but it also implies the extent of male lust. Even though Ash is an asexual robot, he still feels the need to exert his male dominance over Ripley. So the question we are asking here is, does this film play on our subconscious fear of being raped and being powerless over our own bodies to get some sort of reaction out of us? And if so, how can the majority of male audiences relate to this? The answer is the alien. The unexpected yet arguably the most interesting character to look at when looking at the film is the alien itself. A lot of characteristics and actions of the alien mimic feminine-associated fears such as rape and childbirth. The alien orally impregnates its victim, using the human body to unwillingly carry its offspring, and forces the victim to give birth through their chest. For example, the young alien attacks Kane and attaches itself to his face and impregnates him. Later in the film, a small alien creature bursts from Kane's chest as he convulses in pain while his crew hold him down and try and reassure him, mimicking childbirth. Director Ridley Scott confirms that this is a movie about alien interspecies rape. This movie is effectively frightening for all audience members, male and females, as it plays on female fears of rape and childbirth, but inflicts these on males, allowing male viewers to almost understand a woman's perspective on misuse of their bodies. We can conclude that the alien represents the worst of male lust, reflecting the male-dominated society at the time it was made. Furthermore, because the alien does not take gender into account when horrifically raping characters, emphasized by its lack of eyes at every stage of its cycle, could this be considered a play on society's opinions of bisexuality at the time? It might be a long shot, but this would mean that the alien represents both hypermasculine sexuality and a heteronormative attitude that destroys both male and female characters, and on a deeper level, our society. Lastly, I would like to discuss the design in this film and how it reflects this idea of corrupt sexuality and sexual fears. From set to costume, nearly everything represents masculine and feminine sexuality. A few examples are the alien itself. Its design inspired by human genitals. Don't believe me? I showed a few people this image and asked them what the first thing they thought of was.
A vagina? A vagina.
A vagina?
Other things include the tracker on the computer looking like a sperm and an egg, to the long narrow corridors of the set alluding to vaginal qualities, and Ripley going back to save her pussy. Most interestingly of all is Kane's death, in which his blood is white, alluding to bodily fluids related to sexuality such as breast milk, a newborn baby, and you know what I mean. When analysing the film, you can't help noticing the similarities between the alien womb on the planet and the central computer referred to as Mother. Both majorly allude to maternal features, with their womb-looking rooms. Both become traps instead of sanctuaries for our characters, and both are incapable of nurturing as they are wired to. This use of set in the film subtly plays on the audience's positive connotations towards maternity and destroys this, making this film extra terrifying. In contrast to this idea, the first shot in which we are introduced to our characters is one of them sleeping in capsules in costumes that represent nappies in an overly white space that contrasts from any other setting in the film. The use of white and almost heavenly set design with organic sound effects allows the audience to subconsciously label this as a safe space, because it alludes us to the same womb references we receive later in the film, although this time they are positive. The importance of this first shot comes through its paralleling last shot of Ripley going back to sleep in a similar capsule, and it's referencing to the psychoanalytical idea that all humans have repressed or unconscious memories of their own birth, and that these memories are severely traumatic, which leads to the theory that humans have a lifelong subconscious desire to return to the womb. Every attack and negative event happens outside the setting, where we are introduced to our characters for the first time. And we, as an audience, are incredibly relieved when Ripley can finally sleep again at the end. This film challenges everything we know about sexuality. While portraying femininity in a positive light through Ripley, it also challenges this by showing a corrupt side of motherhood through the use of setting and symbols. Through the character, especially Ripley, we can conclude that the film pushes gender boundaries and film stereotypes, while also representing societal problems such as consent and rape. Along with this, the alien is an allegory for patriarchal society, representing the worst of male lust. Filmmakers have packaged non-normative sexuality and hypermasculinity into the same antagonist to make this film terrifying.